As the investigation into Theo Silverton's death in Coronation Street continues, Gary Windass spirals when it seems attention could turn to him again. Kit Green had Gary down as a suspect after Todd Grimshaw's missing phone was found in a pawn shop with Brody Michaela's fingerprints on it. When Brody explained that he found it in a skip outside the builder's yard, Kit questioned Gary, and despite his seemingly plausible explanation, Kit has remained suspicious of him. This was despite Summer Spellman awaiting trial for Theo's murder after she was arrested when the brooch found in Theo's flat was proven to be hers, among other damning evidence. However, with another huge twist in the case during tonight's episode of the ITV soap, attention could turn to Gary once more. It began with Carl Webster telling Tyrone Dobbs that he had been experiencing flashbacks of the night he was injured and knew it took place in the garage. Tyrone was disturbed by what he had been told, as well as knowing that he had seen Summer on the night of Theo's murder and could prove her innocence, saving her from trial and a possible prison sentence. Overwhelmed, he confessed all to Fizz Dobbs, revealing that he knew she wasn't guilty, that he had found Carl tampering with the brakes on Kevin Webster's car, and that he had accidentally knocked the car jack, causing the car to crush Carl. Tyrone admitted to filming the incident on his phone, to which Fizz demanded that he tell the police. Later, Tyrone met with Carl and showed him the footage, explaining that what Carl did was attempted murder and that he would be handing his phone into the police station in a bid to secure Summer's freedom. Gary, also present during the revelation, desperately tried to mask his rising panic, but with Summer set to be walking the cobbles once more, there are fewer suspects for the police to focus on, meaning he could be in their sights once more. Coronation Street's Gary Windass spirals after shocking Theo case update. Trouble has never stayed far away from Gary Windass, but the latest bombshell surrounding Theo's case sends the Weatherfield Hardman into one of his darkest downward spirals yet. For weeks, Gary had tried convincing himself that the nightmare was finally behind him. He had fought to keep his family together, focused on rebuilding trust with Maria, and attempted to put the past where it belonged. But just when life seemed to be settling, devastating news regarding Theo's case arrived, and it hit Gary harder than anyone expected. The updates spread through Weatherfield like wildfire. Conversations stopped when Gary walked into the cafe, whispers followed him down the street, and familiar faces suddenly seemed uncomfortable in his presence. Although no one said much to his face, Gary knew exactly what they were thinking, and it was eating him alive. At first, he tried to keep things together. He reassured Maria that everything would be fine and insisted he could handle the pressure. But behind closed doors, cracks began to show. Sleep became impossible. His temper became unpredictable, and the guilt he had buried deep inside started clawing its way back to the surface. Maria noticed the warning signs immediately. Gary was distant. He snapped over the smallest things and spent long nights staring blankly into space. Whenever she tried to talk, he brushed her off with a forced smile and insisted he was just tired. But Maria knew better. This wasn't just stress. Something was breaking inside him. Meanwhile, Sarah Platt couldn't ignore the change either. Having witnessed Gary's troubled past and the mistakes he desperately tried to leave behind, she feared that history might repeat itself. Gary had always carried the weight of his secrets, but this time, the burden looked unbearable. Even Liam began to sense that something wasn't right. One evening, after another tense dinner, Liam asked a simple question that stopped Gary in his tracks. "Dada, are you okay?" The words should have been easy to answer, but Gary couldn't. Instead, he simply nodded and walked away, leaving Liam confused and Maria deeply worried. As the pressure intensified, Gary sought refuge where he often did when life became overwhelming alone. He found himself wandering the streets late at night, haunted by memories and consumed by fears about what the future might hold. Every fresh development in Theo's case felt like another punch to the gut. The uncertainty was driving him to the edge. Then came the breaking point. A heated confrontation at the Rovers left everyone stunned. When an innocent comment touched a nerve, Gary exploded. Years of frustration, guilt, and fear came pouring out in a torrent of anger. Glasses smashed, tempers flared, and stunned locals watched as the usually composed Gary completely lost control. Maria rushed to calm him down, but the damage had already been done. For the first time in months, Gary looked like a man losing his grip. News of the incident quickly spread, and concern began replacing gossip. Even those who had doubted him couldn't ignore the pain written across his face. David Platt quietly remarked that Gary looked like someone carrying the world on his shoulders. And perhaps he was. Back at home, Maria finally confronted him. "No more lies, Gary," she pleaded. "You don't have to carry this by yourself." The words struck deeper than she realized. For so long, Gary had convinced himself that protecting everyone meant suffering alone. But maybe that belief had become his greatest mistake. As tears welled in his eyes, Gary admitted something he had spent weeks denying. "I'm scared, Maria." Not angry. Not defiant. Scared. Scared of what the latest update meant. Scared of losing everything. Scared that no matter how hard he tried, his past would always catch up with him. Maria held him close, promising they would face whatever came together. But despite her support, uncertainty hangs over Weatherfield. Will Gary finally accept help before his demons consume him? Can Maria keep her family together while standing by the man she loves? And with Theo's case continuing to cast a dark shadow, is this just the beginning of an even bigger storm? One thing is certain, Gary Windass has faced countless battles over the years, but this latest crisis could prove to be his toughest yet. And as the walls close in around him, Weatherfield may soon witness a side of Gary that nobody is prepared for. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Coronation Street Scoop News Update.